record.
Okay.
All right, so now we're officially beginning. Hello and welcome.
Great.
Hello and welcome to RBCM at Home Kids. It's been a few months since we did this, but it feels good to be doing it again. My name's Chris O'Connor, and I'm a learning program developer at the Royal BC Museum. The museum and my home is on the territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations here in Victoria on Vancouver Island. I'm an uninvited guest on this territory and grateful to live, learn, and raise a family on this land. So I'm here at the Royal BC Museum. If I went out the front door and down the street, I'd be at the Maritime Museum of BC. And the Maritime Museum of BC celebrates the nautical culture of British Columbia through exhibits, collections, and programs. And they recently moved into a new location, creating a beautiful space. And I know this firsthand because I was just there this morning. A beautiful space with displays and interactives. So for RBCM at Home Kids, today we wanted to say hello to our neighbor, to the Maritime Museum. And we're joined today on camera by Laura Robin, who's the school and public program manager at the Maritime Museum of BC. So welcome, Laura.
Well, thank you for having us with you today. We're really excited about it. Behind the scenes too, yeah. I wanted to also introduce that we have Richard, who is our public engagement intern. So
Richard, do you want to flip the camera around so we can see you? Hi. Great. Welcome.
So you may hear him and you'll probably see him every so often in the reflections and that kind of thing.
Excellent.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Laura and Richard, I was saying a little bit about what the Maritime Museum is, but for someone who hasn't been to your Maritime Museum or any Maritime Museum, what is a Maritime Museum and why is that important?
Yeah, for sure. Maritime museums are about like anything having to do with the oceans and the waterways. So for us, because we're the Maritime Museum of BC, we like to tell the stories of the people and the places and the cultures that are all connected to our oceans. So that means anything from, like we had someone say they really like boats. That means the boating culture here in BC. But it also means like food security for Indigenous peoples. It also means histories of the Navy. It means a lot of different things. So we delve a little bit into ocean sciences every so often too. So yeah, that's kind of what maritime means. And yeah, Chris, you did do a territory acknowledgement for yourself, but I do also want to add our own to it.
Please.
Because for us, yeah, it's really important to do it as well, because we're a maritime museum, we're actually on territory of maritime people too. The Lekwungen people, they are maritime people. They have a huge, rich maritime history. So it's really special to us to be on their territory. And the other thing is to add our own little personal spin to it too, that Chris, you introduced yourself as an uninvited guest. I'm also a settler on this territory. I'm originally from Treaty 6 territory in Saskatchewan. So it's great for me that I get to have the privilege of being on this land and getting to see this beautiful, beautiful place that we live every single day. All right, so can we take you inside?
I did say that you moved recently. Where did you move from? Do you want to give us a little sense? Because I know just over your shoulder is close to where you were before. Just to
exactly.
To situate ourselves where you are.
Yeah, for anyone who's a little bit familiar with downtown Victoria, right behind Richard is the Crystal Pool and the bus station over there. And then there's the Victoria Conference Center. And then behind us, actually, if I were to walk that way, you can kind of still maybe see our navy blue sign in the distance. But if I were to walk that way and then turn left, I would be at our old location. A fun fact is we hired movers, but they didn't even need to use their truck. We just walked all of the boxes over here.
I think I mentioned to you, Laura, that whenever I was biking home, or biking to work, it was always like made me so happy to see the things being carted down the street.
Oh, that's
I was like,
lovely.
oh, that's the Maritime Museum on the move. So
Yeah, it was. It was a fast moving few days for sure.
yeah.
But now we've landed. We are
Uh-huh.
we're docked here for a little while anyway. So
Right.
you can, if you're walking down Douglas Street, you'll see our blue windows, the Maritime Museum waves across the windows, and that's how you'll know where to go. All right, so let's bring everyone inside.
Great. How long has the Maritime Museum been the Maritime Museum? When was it first?
The Maritime Museum actually was created in 1955, and it was originally a naval museum.
Okay.
So a little bit of the birth story. When Prince Philip actually came here on his visit, he noticed that we didn't have a naval museum yet. And he was like, you guys are in Victoria, you should have a naval museum. And so what he did is he wrote to the Maritime Museum in Greenwich and told them that Victoria needs a maritime museum, and basically told them to send us some things.
Oh.
So we have a few unique items in our collection that don't necessarily have a lot to do with British Columbia, but we have them because Prince Philip thought we should.
All right.
So a little bit of a royal influence for us to create this museum.
Right.
So yeah, here's our entrance. So if you come to visit, this is where you'll walk in the front door. We do have some activities going on usually. Today's, we recommend you do the activity book. So there's a little sign over there. We have a scavenger hunt you can do. And if you finish the scavenger hunt, you will get a prize out of our treasure chest over here. So if anyone decides to come in, and since this is kids we're talking to today, 12 and under kids are free. So you can come in with your adults and you can walk around and no cost for the kids.
And get a prize at the end.
And get a prize at the end too. Yeah. So hopefully you'll do our scavenger hunt. All right. So let's continue on. All right. So here we're entering into our gallery. And the beginning of our gallery is all about ships models. We do recognize, though, that a lot of the things that we have in our collection here at the Maritime Museum, they don't represent everyone's culture here on our coast. So there's a lot of maritime cultures, but one thing we don't really have canoes. We don't really have that kind of representation. So we recognize that, and that a lot of these are European boats, European ships that we have on display. All right, let's take a quick look at some of these up close. So Richard will do some zooming in on some of our ships models. Is there anyone watching today who likes ships models? You can always let us know. I think Richard is seeing anything that comes up in the Zoom perhaps. And
if I see anything, I'll pass it along as well. I
sure.
like ship models. Is that the largest one that Richard, you were just looking at? Is that the largest model in the front?
That is the largest model we have, though, I'm not sure if it was the largest ship though, because all of these models are to different scale. So I think the Robert may be bigger. Okay. But this one is our biggest in terms of like the model size. So different scales though. And a lot of the ships models that we have on display in the museum right now, a lot of them were Canadian Pacific Railway steamships. So if you haven't heard of the Canadian Pacific Railway, they were the railway that connected most of Canada together. And it's kind of credited as being the reason why a lot of us aren't Americans right now. Connected coast to coast. And these ships, because they couldn't really build a railway across the ocean from Vancouver to Victoria. So instead they provided ships. And that was how you'd continue your railway voyage, was by going on the ships. So yeah,
we did get one comment from one of our viewers saying how much they love ships. So.
Oh, good. That's really wonderful. So then we'll give you some nice, good looks at some of our really beautiful ships models.
What's the role and function of models like this? Is it to help ship builders better understand how ships are made? Is it just for entertainment purposes? What are some of the reasons why people would make such intricate models like this?
That's a really good question. Ships models serve a lot of different purposes. The ones that we have here, so these really big ones, mostly the purpose for these ones, these are builders models. So what that means is that as they were building these ships, they would have had a department in the Canadian Pacific Railway Service that would have made a model to kind of show shareholders, to show builders, to show people what this should look like when it's done. So that's what these really big ones are, but that's not the only reason you would make a ship's model. There's a huge community of people here in Victoria who do it just for fun. So it's kind of like a hobby, like any other hobby. Like some people play sports, other people do ships models, some people knit or sew or that kind of thing. So ships models, it's like a creative hobby. And so some of those hobbyists will use the actual plans that someone used to make a ship, and then they create their scale for how small it's going to be. Other stuff is honestly like just a way to pass the time. I don't think we have one on display here, but a really popular part of ship modeling is prisoners of war. So people who had been captured by enemy forces, they would often make ships models themselves in like their prison camps and stuff. So they had to use stuff like gross things like hair and bone and stuff to make them. Yeah. And so these are nice and big ones. And actually the one that Richard is zooming in on right now, this one is called Prince Rupert, and it had a sister ship named Prince George. And Prince Rupert was actually a really unlucky ship. It had, I think, 7 different accidents. So it involved like getting struck by lightning. It was stranded on rocks. It had a fire on board. They even rammed into another vessel at one point. So the fact that it continued lasting as long as it did, despite all these accidents, is kind of fun.
I wondered whether in like the nautical culture and sort of boating culture, if superstition is a big thing. Like if people have their routines because of being superstitious, that something might go wrong when out on the water. Do you know if that's...
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of superstition with ships and people on them. Like one of the ones that is really interesting to me is that for a really long time, you didn't want to have any women on board. They were just like sure that women brought bad luck. And so on like a lot of whaling vessels and early Navy ships, you would not have seen a woman on there because people were sure that if a storm blew up, she'd sink the ship because she was just there. So that's one of them. But then there's also a whole bunch of stories of ghost ships. There's lots of stories of just general hauntings and accidents that happened and that kind of thing. So the sailors are a superstitious lot for sure. And there's a lot of great sayings. I can't think of any right now, but these are some of our other ships models that have nothing to do with the Canadian Pacific Railway. But the whaling ship, the Thermopylae, is a pretty famous ship in the maritime community over here.
I was going to mention, Laura, in the front of the Prince George. Do you mind going back to the front?
The front of the Prince George, yeah.
What's the terminology of the front of the ship? Is that the stern?
The bow.
The bow, right.
The bow is the front, the stern is the back.
Right. I was just noticing the anchor.
Yeah.
Because we're going to look at anchors a little later, right? So just for people to notice that anchor there and keep that in your mind's eyes for a little bit later.
And keep it in like scale in your mind's eye as well. So I'm trying to think, Richard, why don't you show them one of the doors here? So that's like the door drawing is kind of, here, I'm going to try and stick my finger in. There's the door. Yeah. And then if he scans over to the anchor, you can see the anchor is larger than the door.
Yeah, right.
A little bit larger than a door. So yeah, we'll be headed over there right away. So that's it. So you'll have to come and check out more because we have a lot of information about all of these ships models and some fun stories about them. So we do encourage anyone who really likes ships to come and check them out. And if you have the time while you're here, one thing you can do is actually use these signal flags to tell you what coded words we have in the museum. So we have 3 different spots where you can crack the signal flag code. Each signal flag is associated with a letter. And so all of these flags spell different words.
So if we look at that really quickly, that looks like, is the first one A?
The first one is
the one you're standing in front of?
Oh, okay. The first one is actually an M.
Yeah. And the second one?
The second one is an O.
An O, so M-O.
And then this one has the yellow on the outside, blue in the middle, so it's D.
M-O-D.
Maybe someone already knows. And then we have red and blue, E. This one's 4 squares, like black checkered. And yeah, checkered, L. Exactly, L. And then our last one is, not P, but S, the opposite here. So it spells models over here.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can figure out there's 2 other ones that you'll have to come to the museum and do yourself. Yeah, exactly. And then the museum, we always have some kind of temporary exhibit going on. Right now, it's about a shipwreck called the SS Valencia. And I'll do a really quick summary of this one because it's a pretty long story with a lot of confusing details. But basically, where we live on Vancouver Island, this area, especially the outer coast, is known as the graveyard of the Pacific. So this map here shows you the known wrecks since 1800. I'm not sure when they stopped recording on here, but all of those little blue lines, those are all shipwrecks. And you notice they kind of started running out of room and they had to start making arrows with like pictures of ships up there. So it's a really dangerous area. There's lots of really bad seas, lots of waves, lots of currents, lots of storms that happen. And what happened with this vessel was the SS Valencia. SS stands for steamship. So you can see it has its stack right there. So it stands for steamship. And the SS Valencia, what it was doing was it was coming up north this way, and it was supposed to go through the Juan de Fuca Strait to Victoria. So it was supposed to go here, but they were sailing at night. The captain was not experienced in this area of the world, and he decided to keep going ahead even though it was foggy and the conditions were bad, and they missed their turn. So instead of heading into the Juan de Fuca Strait, they ended up going straight up north, and they ended up landing around here area. So they were on a reef, a coral reef, about 100 meters from shore. So not very far away. They were actually really close. And they couldn't get there though, because it's a really steep shore. So basically what happened from that shipwreck was a pretty sad story. So we have a few things from the shipwreck though on display that you can come and check out. So in our case up here, we do have the Starboard Light. And Chris, you were saying earlier, what's the front of the ship called? It's called the bow. The back is called starboard, or not starboard, sorry. The back is called the stern. Starboard would be the right of the ship.
And what's the left of the ship?
The left of the ship is port.
Okay.
And the way I remember that is because port has 4 letters and left also has 4 letters.
Okay.
So if you want a trick for
that's super helpful.
that's how we do it. So unfortunately,
did the ship go underwater? Like, did the ship wrecked and went under the water?
Yeah.
So was that was found through a diving expedition, or?
I think for a while you could still see the damage from shore.
Oh, okay.
And a few people did come to their aid. So there were some men who were able to get off the ship, go and get help, summon more ships, but it was just so stormy and it was such a dangerous area to go into that no one actually went and helped.
Right.
So until I think they were at, oh man, I'm trying to remember exactly how many hours, 40 hours. Is how long they were kind of just clinging to the ship in the rigging as it sunk in a storm.
Wow.
So it was a pretty scary time for sure. And yeah, I think the water in that area is around 10 degrees Celsius. So if you ever go swimming on the outer coast, just think of swimming in that for like 40 hours. You'll have an idea of how cold these people were. So it's a very sad story. Unfortunately,
and for people that have been to like Port Renfrew or been to Tofino or Ucluelet, then you know how rocky the coast is as well. So
exactly. And we actually have a picture, so we can show you. Which side is it on? Oh, over here, sorry. We actually have a picture that we can show you. This is where the wreck site is. So underwater, the ship is still there. And this is basically the cliffs they had to get up. But imagine that in a storm.
Yeah,
because this is pretty calm waters right now in this picture. So we actually have an old photo of it, but with old photography, it's pretty hard to tell.
Oh, okay.
You can see that's it as it was going down. So some pretty dangerous waters. And this is one of our objects we have on display here. This is called a Lyle Gun, and it's a kind of a life-saving device. So basically, it's meant to shoot out this line towards land. So from the ship, you would shoot out a line towards land, and hopefully you'd have someone on land who could tie off the rope. They tried this a number of times and it didn't work though for them. Either they didn't have someone there to secure a line, or the rope actually ended up wearing out on the rocks before anyone could get across it. So yeah, so this is the rope. It's a nice long line, so you'd be able to shoot it pretty far.
What's the bat for?
Oh, that would be to stuff it in, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Like to, yeah, because you'd want to get some gunpowder in there first.
Right.
Yeah. And because it was such a sad story, because there was a pretty unfortunate end to it, they re-examined what kinds of life preservers we use. So if you think of your life jackets you've seen today, this is the life jackets they would have been using, which were not as good for sure. We have come a pretty long way in our life jacket safety. And of the people on the ship, there were 170 passengers, 37 made it out alive, all men.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, we encourage you, this is only here for another month. So if you do want to see a little bit more about it, if you want to get more of the details of that story, you'll have to come before the end of November for sure. I can't remember the date right now.
Are there any first person accounts from any of those 37 that survived, just from their experience? And
we do have some, and there's some in the exhibit as well. There's a lot of court documents too, because this did end up actually at Bastion Square, the old museum's location. They did actually have a trial to see whose fault this was and what could have been done better. Yeah. A lot of the blame fell on the captain, which because he actually went down with his ship, it was, I guess, easier to just assign blame there.
Right.
So we're going to come into this room, unless anyone had questions about the Valencia exhibit.
I don't see any questions on Facebook or Zoom. So.
All right, sounds good. So we're gonna do some fun stuff then. So we're gonna come here, and we're going to courteously avoid our visitors here just so that they don't feel. So what we're going to be looking at here is our History of Anchors exhibit. So we have a great hands-on interpretive thing for you to look at here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you what it looks like if you put an anchor underwater. A lot of boaters even like this exhibit because a lot of people don't actually get to see what an anchor looks like underwater. And one of the more common anchors that we see on sailing boats and smaller boats today is this one here. So maybe if you have a boat, you've actually seen one of these. What we do here at our exhibit is you get to see just how that sets. So you put it over at the end, and if you want to come and try this one day, all you have to do is drag it across and we'll see how it works. So this one, notice it didn't open up super well. And that's actually one of the flaws with this anchor. So I'm happy it did that. This anchor sometimes gets stuck. Anytime you add extra pieces to something, there's more possibilities for something to go wrong. So we're gonna try it again and we'll see if it actually opens up this time. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it did. So it opened up and notice it buries itself in. So a lot of people think with anchors that it's like a grappling hook and you want it to like catch on to something and stick there. But actually you want it to bury itself. You want it to be a really good shovel that gets under the sand. So ours did a good job here.
Laura, you wouldn't be pulling that. It would just be the drift of the boat. Would it, is that true or, okay.
Yeah, so you want about like for how deep you are, say you're in 10 feet of water, you're going to want 10 times that amount of chain. So you want like actually a lot of chain because the chain is part of what's heavy about it. And then you let down your anchor and your boat's going to move, obviously, if it's not anchored. So it's going to move and it's going to drift. This is not a job you'd have to actually like put your hands out and do that.
Right.
But now the anchor is like nice and buried deep. So what I do want to do is move the boat over top of it to get it back out again. It's going to be hard to try and like get it out from over here. But if you go right over top of it and you pull it right up, it comes out nice and easy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's actually how you do it with your boat as well. Is you bring your boat over top, pull it out nice and easy. So that's how smaller anchors work. Remember though, we looked at the really big anchors on the Prince Rupert, and it had
they
two
were
really big anchors.
As big as a door or bigger than a door?
Exactly. Those anchors, what you would want is for them to just be extremely heavy. So for them, size matters a lot more than how well they can dig into the sand. Okay. So let's compare two anchors. And if we have time, I know we're getting close to our time here. Let's compare one and then we'll compare this one because these two have opposite shapes. So we have one that's kind of more shovelly and then one that's like a plow. Oh, yeah. So let's compare them side by side. Okay, and we'll see which one sets more easily. Okay, I'm dragging them both. Actually, they're both pretty similar. Yeah. Maybe this one's going a little bit more easily. But now I'm going to compare them on the rocks and see if that changes anything. Because actually what you want when you anchor is sand, silt, or clay. Okay, so let's see how this one does. Honestly, like, can you see how rocks make it really hard to anchor?
Yeah. Like it just stays really on the surface more, right?
Exactly, yeah. It doesn't bury itself as well. There's not as much friction because there's less surface area. And then this one did a little bit better.
Yeah.
So that one dug in a little bit better. So I guess if I were going to buy an anchor for my boat, I might want one that does a bit better on rocks sometimes. So yeah. Did anyone have questions about our anchors?
Yeah, if anyone has questions, feel free to write them in the chat or in the comments section. We'll be going over a little bit, but I'm so curious to see more. So definitely stay with us if you can.
Yeah, for sure. And then at the end, we're gonna do one quick knot tying activity. So if you do want to practice doing the knot with me, what you can do is actually shoelaces work really well for knot tying, or if you have rope around, you can use that. Yarn can work too. If you have a family member who likes to macrame cord is really, really good. So that's what we're going to end with. But first, we're going to go and look at one of our cool handling objects that we have over here. So this here is a beautiful
sorry,
box.
Laura, there's just one question from Bella.
Oh yeah.
Who asks, can you have 2 anchors on your boat, one for sand and one for rocks?
You could if you wanted to. Most people only have 1 anchor on their boat usually. They do take up a lot of space. They are really heavy and costly as well. So most people pick one that's pretty good on both.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Good question, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And now maybe I'll have my own question and you all have the answer. So looking at this beautiful box that we have here, I always love to know what people think is inside it.
And I know what's inside, so so for those watching on Zoom or Facebook Live, what do you think is inside? And you can put in the chat or the comment section. What do you think is inside this box?
I like to always kind of like think of things I'm seeing on the outside that might help me guess.
Bella says a navigation tool.
Oh, a navigation tool. That's a wonderful guess.
If I didn't know, I'd think maybe it was like sailor's lunchbox.
Yeah, for sure. A sailor's lunchbox. That's a good one. Can haul it by the buckle up here.
But I think Bella's onto something with the navigation tool.
She is. So let's take a peek and see if Bella is on the right track with her thought that this could be a navigational tool. So we're going to take a look inside. So I'd love to know what any of you see when you look at this. What are some of the, maybe you see a material that looks familiar to you. Maybe you notice numbers, letters, patterns that mean something to you. Shapes. And feel free to put those in the chat.
Sorry, just looking at the Q&A.
Yeah.
Someone thinks it's a compass.
Yeah, and you've got it. They're right on track. This is a compass. And ours is actually a nautical compass. So you can still buy compasses that you use on land. This nautical compass, though, it's specially designed to be on a boat. And the reason for that actually is that this compass, if I move it like I would move it on a boat, so say I'm at sea, I'm on the water, it's pretty wavy.
Yeah.
As I rock the box, the compass stays pointing upwards.
That is very cool. It looks kind of magical that way.
It does, yeah. And I find actually watching it in the video really gets that across. I've noticed seeing it on the screen somehow makes that more obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, so one thing I noticed is there are the letters right away. I saw the letters, and maybe that's where someone was thinking it's a compass. That
exactly.
Those letters look familiar in terms of directions.
Yeah, they do. So yeah, that's always what people find is like, oh yeah, that's a compass. We have our northwest, north, northeast, east, southeast, south, southwest, west.
And it looks like there's a little bit of water at the top. Is that?
There is a liquid. I wonder if anyone has any idea of what kind of liquid would be in here. Oh, it looks like someone in the chat has a way to remember that trick.
Way to remember the cardinal
the
directions.
North, yeah, the directions.
Never eat soggy waffles.
Oh, that's funny. I like that one. Never eat soggy waffles. That's a good one. So yeah, there's a liquid inside there. I wonder, did anyone have a thought of what kind of liquid it is? No thoughts. That's okay. It's a tough one. So remember, this is a nautical compass. I'm probably going to be taking it on my boat, and probably this compass, I do know it was actually used in the Second World War. They
Sorry,
may
Laura,
have been
Laura,
going.
we did get one guess of oil. Yay. Is it oil?
Oh, that's a really good guess. And you're kind of on the right track that it's not water. So it isn't water. It's not oil either. This liquid, what I need it for is so that the compass still moves around. So I still need my compass rose, that part with all the letters on it, I still need it to rotate. So I need that liquid there to help it rotate. Now, the thing is, if I'm on a ship and I go really far north, what would happen if this is water?
I'm going to channel some thoughts, like maybe it would freeze.
Maybe it would freeze. Yes, maybe it would freeze
really
if it's water.
Weather.
Yeah, exactly. So water can freeze really quickly. So we want a material in here that doesn't freeze. So the material that the water, the liquid, or the liquid that is in our compass is actually alcohol. Oh. So yeah, if you ever see a nautical compass, usually it is not filled with water. It is filled with something else that's less likely to freeze. All right. Well, I hope some people have gotten their ropes if they're going to practice their knot tying, because we're going to do our knot tying activity and then we're going to actually finish up our time with you all today. But if you do come to visit, you can take a look. We do have some information about which First Peoples, which nations are local to the province here, which so you can click on the buttons and find out more information about whose land we're on. And then we do have also this where you can learn some Indigenous words. So we are on Lekwungen territory. We don't have Lekwungen for salmon, but I thought it was really interesting. I listened to the Nchama. Oh, and is it frozen today? Salmon. There we go. So I hope you guys could hear that, but the word for salmon in Nchana is actually salmon, which is very, very close to what we already say. All right. So I hope you've got out your knots. We're going to do a really cool knot. We're going to do a carrick spend. We actually have a station here, though. You don't need a person to help you teach these knots. We have a very cool app that I recommend downloading on your own phone or your iPad, and it is called Grog Knots. So if I leave here, Grog Knots is right here. This is the app we use. And you can learn how to do all of the possible knots you can think of. So we are going to learn some cool knots. Okay.
What's the name of this app again, Laura?
Grog Knots, G-R-O-G.
Oh, but this is an app that people can download
People can get that on their own phones, yeah. So you don't actually need to come to the museum to do it, but if you want to practice on our multicolored ropes, you absolutely can. Okay. So what we're going to start with here is our rope, and I need to make myself a loop. So most knot tying starts with some kind of loop. So I am only going to go through it once, but I do recommend that you take a peek online to learn it yourself. Now, the next step we're going to do is I'm going to use this longer line to go over top of this one, and I'm going to make it look kind of like a pretzel. Oh, yeah. So that is step number 2.
So the end I notice is underneath.
Yes,
rope.
This is important. This is very important. So you do want this little end to be underneath. Now, the next step I'm going to do, this is where, so lots of times when you're making a knot, the rule is you need to go over, under, over, under. I did a whole bunch of overs here to start off, but now to actually make it into a knot, because this isn't a knot yet, if I pull this side up, I'm just going to undo the whole thing. So it's not a knot. So what I need to do is start going with that over under stuff. So what I'm going to do is take that long end that I have left here. And the last thing I did over here was that I went over. So now I'm going to want to go under. All right. So we're going like this, and we're going in to, oh wait, you know what? I actually did this wrong. I want to start over again. I want to go in across all of my pretzel.
So you went over, and then under.
Exactly. So right here, over. I went under the next one. I went over the third one, and I went under that last one. Does that make sense so far? Okay, so we're actually nearly done what we have now. So remember, I went over this way, I went over, under. Now what I need to do is kind of just actually start tightening it, because the structure for my knot is already here. So this little end here is going to be what goes over here. And what I want to do is start tightening it so that these holes aren't as big. Because then I need extra line to do this.
You kind of have to do that in a balanced way so it doesn't sort of get
exactly. I still want to keep my holes so that I can see where they are. I don't want to get it too tight in one area and not tight enough in another area. So I want to keep it nice and balanced. So I'm just bringing it a little bit tighter together. So it's
a beautiful design, huh?
It is.
Like
yes.
a Celtic knot.
It is. It's a very nice design. Okay, so now what I get to do is the fun and actually fairly simple part. So this is my little short end. It's going to be beside this. And then what I'm doing with the loose bit here is I'm just going to feed it through the same way that the line goes. So it's over right here. So I want it to go over again because it's going to go right side by side. And then it was under here. So it needs to go under there. And now here, this is where I get to start tightening it even more. And as you tighten it, you start to make it go further into the knot. So, and I can tighten from anywhere on this knot. Now that it is made, I can decide, okay, this is too much rope on this side. So I'm going to pull it over here. And then it's too much here. So I always lay my hand flat though, so the structure stays the same. So I can pull it. And then there's a whole bunch extra here. So I'm going to hold this down so that I can pull it this way. And then I can pull it through here too. Oh, I think I maybe pulled it a little bit too far. Oh no, I pulled it too far. Okay, that is the beginning of the knot. Should I try it again? Is there anyone in the chat who wants me to try it again before I unravel it by accident on myself? Or do you all want to learn it on your own by downloading the app? Or you can actually check this website out online too.
We did get a yes, please.
Yes, please. Let's try it again. Okay, sounds good. Well, that's great that they're having fun then. Okay, so we're gonna do our loop at the beginning here. It was under, correct? We started that way, and then we made it into a pretzel. Okay, so I hope everyone's gotten to their pretzel. That's the part where I think I must have gone wrong somewhere. I'm just gonna check and make sure I know what step I missed. Okay,
and just because we are running over, if anyone needs to leave, please feel free to. No, that's okay. It's nice to be able to see it again, Laura. So, but if you do need to leave, thanks for being here. And also, you could see a recording of this later on Facebook, on our Facebook page, Royal BC Museum Facebook page, or on YouTube, our YouTube page too. So.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah,
All
and
right.
we'll add it to our Facebook page as well.
Oh, great.
All right, so again, I apologize. So we're doing it again. We're taking this one and we're gonna bring it
That's the thing about knots, though. It's
over.
like learning and relearning and trying it out.
Exactly. Practice,
Yeah.
practice, practice, practice. So a lot of sailors, it's kind of, you'll see them, they can tie knots single-handedly. So we're gonna go over that one. We're going under the second one. We're going over the third one. And we're going under the last one. And that has given us a third loop right there. Okay, and then I just had a little bit left on my short end, so I brought it back over there, is what I did. Okay, now I'm gonna make sure I'm doing this right. So now this one is coming back alongside this rope. So I must have gone wrong here somewhere. Yeah. So I'm going again under, like this one is under.
So it's like
I'm
the
going
head of
over,
the snake.
like this one's over.
The head of the snake is passing the tail of the snake and going
Exactly.
beside it. Okay.
And it's chasing the snake.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and that, I think that is where I went wrong with this,
Okay.
is that I didn't go the right way. So this one's supposed to be on the outside of this one. So that this is the tail, this is the head we've been working with, it's going through. And so now here is where I can actually start tightening things a little bit cautiously this time, just in case I take too much. And then I'm going over here. Sorry, Richard, I can move it out further. You're getting it. And there we go. And then I'm going to go under this one. I'm following it through. And I get to keep doing this the whole way. So I'm going to take this rope because I see I have a lot of space here. I want to tighten it. And that gives me more with this guy. So I can tighten that and go that way. And then I notice I have a lot of space right here. I can tighten that. And I just follow it around. I'm following my rope. I'm tightening it as I follow. Tighten it a little bit more. Following the rope. I can keep tightening. And then it comes out this way. And I have a little bit more rope to use. And so you keep doing that. So that now I've gotten to another place so I can put it over and under. And I put it in here. And then I have more rope here, so I can tighten that too. And it's just kind of tightening until it looks nice and neat. So I'll tighten, I have a whole bunch here, so I can tighten here. So I hope everyone's following along and understands kind of what I'm doing here. Oh my goodness, did I lose it again? I tightened a little bit too much again, maybe. This goes under here, that stays over here. So this goes this way. Correct? No, I'm losing it if I go that way.
Do you want to show the final?
Oh, geez.
Knot?
Well, when you are done, it will look something like this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's really interesting that you really see the snake going beside itself with that.
You
like
really
the
do. And
two-
now, yeah, and now I'm kicking myself because I don't know, I must have pulled the rope too far. So you can pull the rope too far is what I am learning today.
Well, more motivation for people to go to the app. And you said the app is called Grog Knots?
Yeah, here, we'll show it to you again. So this is what it looks like.
Grog Knots. Okay, great. I put that in the chat and I put that in the comment section.
Great.
So yeah.
So then hopefully some people can practice it. And I would love you to message us on Facebook and tell me I got it. And
or better yet, come down to the Maritime Museum of BC and show it in person.
And show me. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I would love that. So yeah, I apologize. I thought I was going to get it that second time. It looked right, but that's the thing with knots. It takes a lot of practice, and some of these knots would have taken people years and years and years to learn.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, like, especially if you're on on a ship and you have lots of time to spare, you're just like hanging out, that like doing different knots and learning different knots, and that's part of the communication and learning from each other. That's all part of the culture, I would imagine, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It is. It is a huge part.
Well,
All
Laura
right.
and Richard, thank you so much for showing us around. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. And if you're in Victoria, definitely feel free to stop by. What days are you open, Laura?
We're open Tuesday to Saturday, 10 to 5.
Oh, great.
So 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Great.
Yeah.
And if not, then I know you also do online programs too, right?
We do online programs as well.
Yeah.
We do virtual tours. So if you follow us on Facebook, you'll see we do some live tours of maritime related history in Victoria. And then also we go to our collection every so often and we show you some of the items people usually don't get to see from there.
Great. So in the chat and in the comment section on Facebook Live, I put your website. So definitely check out the website and definitely check out the space. And again, thank you so much, you two, for showing us around.
And thanks so much for having us. Hopefully we'll see some of our virtual visitors in person soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm
All
gonna
right.